Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited again to be able to have a guest on that will, talk to us about something that we really need to hear about. He's an expert in this space. And we're going to talk about one of his favorite subjects and one of my favorite subjects, and that is money. This episode, it's brought to you as they all are by Moxie Pest Control. We've had a lot of luck, if you will, and put a lot of hard work into growing the last several years. We've had a lot of success doing that. Most recently, we've been doing that via acquisition. And so specifically in the Phoenix market, if there's people that are aware of people that own pest control companies or would like to connect, I was on a phone call with the gentleman yesterday just saying, hey, I think it's time. And we were able to walk through some of the things that could be great for him and some of the things that may not and that he may want to consider. And so even if you're looking for someone to subjectively speak to about the valuation of your company, I'd love to be able to do that. Text me or reach out to me on my cell at 480-254-9730. Chris Felton, everybody, I'm so glad to be able to have you on. Chris is a founder and principal of his own financial services business, which he started in 1999. He leads and trains hundreds of agents across the United States, and they've helped thousands of people learn how money works and experience financial relief. He's a top agent in his company out of tens of thousands of agents in North America. He's been featured in Forbes, Fortune, MarketWatch, NASDAQ.com, Yahoo Finance, U.S. News, and World Report, and is a top leader in one of the largest financial service firms in the U.S. Chris is a co-author of Couples Money. If you're looking to get into an argument with your, partner today, talk about money and couples. But he authored this book in which he wrote with his wife, Marlo, which explains how they were able to quadruple their business in a few short years during the Great Recession and overcome serious financial struggles. They share their money secrets as well as those of numerous financially independent business owners they interviewed in the book. People have discovered how to overcome financial limitations in a simple, no-nonsense approach that's worked for many. Chris and Marlo are also Amazon best-selling authors of Prosperity Factor, co-authored with Joe Vitale. Chris, thank you so much for being on today. How are you doing?
Better than ever. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's get right to it. Some of this stuff you've learned from kind of the school of hard knocks, if you will, and your personal experience. But as we talked just right before we went live, the United States is the wealthiest nation, has been for a long time, hopefully will continue to be for a long time. But as you stated, 96% of people are retiring broke or poor. What is the issue that we have with money and why?
Yeah, I mean, it's you really, beliefs are the star of the show, and unfortunately, as we're maturing, from 0 to 4 years of age, we are 50% programmed. Our subconscious minds are programmed. Our unconscious minds are programmed, meaning we're not conscious on, people are good, people are bad, money's good, money's bad, people are friendly, unfriendly, you're this, you're that. And unfortunately, around the topic of money, it's usually a negative programming scenario. And for my parents, it was rich people are crooks. They make money on the backs of poor people. My mom said money, you either have it or you don't, like you don't really have a choice. And basically what happens is we get programmed, and then those beliefs harden. And about age 18, we are 95% hardwired programmed on our belief systems. And so here I was getting programmed that way, but I was a CPA. I became a financial advisor, did good in school, took the CPA exam one time. So I'm not an idiot, but here I was in my second marriage, $250,000 in unsecured debt. My wife walks into this, doesn't really know it. I'm divorced. My kids are small. They live on the other side of the country. We're entering the Great Recession. We're negative $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month of cash flow. And And so here I am, a so-called guy that's smart because I'm a CPA, I'm a financial person, telling people what to do with their money. But the cobbler's kid has no shoes, right? And so it was a mess, man. And so my belief systems around money were a disaster. And working harder was not going to solve it, which is a lot of entrepreneurs. It's what they think. I'll just work harder. I'll put more time into it. But literally, to me, that's like running a marathon with a 30-pound bowling ball around your ankle. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years. And so what I talk about and write about and speak about across the country is, how do you shift those beliefs? How do you become aware of how you're getting in your own way around being an entrepreneur, around being successful? But today we're going to talk about how do we get in our own way around money and stop it from coming to us.
Was that, Chris, a decade and a half? I mean, was that a turning point for you, or was that kind of a rock bottom financial place for you? Had you start to, I guess, be forced to start to think a different way around money?
Yeah, it was. And you and I have a limited time, so I'll give you the short version of it. But basically, I was out of money, and my wife, my second and last wife, Marla, that we wrote our couples money book with, she came into a relationship. I looked smart. I said the right things. I was successful in my entrepreneurial business, but she didn't know how I'd created all this debt, paying my ex-wife off, just all sorts of crazy stuff. And once she realized what was going on, I actually ceded control of the books and the financial records to her, which was the single greatest financial decision I ever made in my life. Because as the coach I hired for many years said, based on your results, how good are you? Right? And so based on my results, so I pushed my ego aside. I operated on intuition, which you got a lot of entrepreneurs listening. You know how important intuition is, and that you got to move on it real quick, or your brain talks you out of why you should move forward. But basically, she took control of it, but I still had to pay my ex-wife $5,200 a month at the beginning of the month. You're an entrepreneur. I had a stupid lease that I'd signed. I was basically paying 3 or 4 mortgage payments a month. And I came home, and I had to convince, my wife was good. She had good money beliefs, money programming. She was a saver. She had it all dialed in. She was debt free. But I had to come home to convince my wife to give me the money to pay my ex-wife the next day, which that doesn't go over too well, brother. And so that it was just the fight of all fights. And she had had enough. And I call it volcanic Marlowe. She's not here to defend herself, but she's 5'1" and nobody wants to tangle. But she lost it. And she was giving me the barrage of what was wrong with me and us. And then I just asked the question, well, why are we still together? Why are we still married? And that kind of ended the fight. And she went upstairs and thought through it. And then the turning point for me, brother, was I was just sitting there and I was like going, man, wherever I've had a money problem in my life, I've always been there. Right? Wherever I've had a problem, I've always been there. So what I realized was I was actually the common denominator to all my problems. And it was an awakening where I'm like, oh my God, I created all this. I created the mess. I created the debt. I created the divorce. My ex-wife actually didn't have a chance. I did it. And it was literally the first time in my life I took 100% responsibility. And it was empowering, but I had work to do. And then the second thing that hit me was I was like, oh my God, dad was broke. Mom was broke. Grandma, grandpa, great-grandma, great-grandpa. I'm like, this has been going on forever. And so something must be getting handed down from generation to generation that we just accept, because from 0 to 4, we have no ability to really reject anything. We just have to take it in. Something's going on. And so I believe God was giving me this problem to solve, but I just sat, I'm going to figure it out. So Marla and I got together the next day, and she's like, we're staying together. We're not declaring bankruptcy. We're going to figure it out. She's like, I'm going to interview world-class couples that built their empire, and they're world-class in every facet of their life. Just phenomenal people. What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to figure out how my thinking is creating broke. And I'm all in, and I'm going to go all in like an Olympic athlete would go in their sport. And so for a while, brother, I was just getting up early in the morning, and I still get up early in the morning. I still study this. I've not arrived. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a guru, but I literally started breaking down the golf swing and going, okay, well, here's this belief. That's not serving me. I need to replace this belief with this belief. I hired a coach who was financially independent and basically went through a process of remaking my belief systems around money and wealth, deservingness, worthiness. You and I could give a whole show about forgiveness and how lack of forgiveness actually creates broke. So I did a massive amount of work. And then what happened is we had an amazing financial transformation that, and it's jaw dropping what's happened to us in the last, 12, 13 years. It's just a major turnaround. It's awesome.
And thank you too, Chris, for being so open and so vulnerable. A lot of people aren't willing to do that, but with big change, whether it's in relationships, finances, whatever it might be, like that's step one, right? Like you need to be open, you need to be aware, you need to be able to receive critical feedback. And it seems like you did that, but it seems for at least the topic of the day, this might we're not teaching kids in elementary school, certainly not high school, definitely not college so much. Our own government doesn't seem to have much financial sense either. But why are we not teaching these things at a younger age, or some of these hey, these are misconceptions around money? I mean, we could implement things like that earlier, right? Don't you think that would help save a lot of heartache and financial stress and duress, for all of those people that are retiring and 96% of them are broke?
Yeah. It's my business partners wrote a book, and anybody that wants to reach out to me through some of the contact info I'll give you at the end, I'm happy to send them a complimentary book in the mail. My business partners wrote a book called How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. And it came out pre-pandemic, and it actually said in the book, pre-pandemic, I didn't believe it when it came out, but it said the number one economic crisis in the world is the fact that people are financially illiterate. And I didn't believe it until the pandemic hit, and then I was like, spot on. People were not ready. And the book's called Stop Being a Sucker. It's how to teach people how to get out of the sucker cycle. And it's written in 5th grade English. There's pictures, colors. Number one selling financial book of 2020. Number one selling financial book of 2021. There are over 200 media appearances because it's simple, easy, it's approachable. Somebody can read in an hour and a half and get more financial literacy than they probably have in their entire lives. And so, we can't figure it out, but we're going to schools with it. We need to teach people that stuff. Our industry, financial services, actually is pretty conflicted. So the dumber you are around money, the more money they make. So they want to keep you confused because it drives their profits. So we're actually on a pretty big mission to stamp out and eradicate financial literacy in the United States. That's one of the big missions that we're on. The other mission that I'm on is teaching people how to become an entrepreneur, because you have to. It's not.
And so even backing up from that, Chris, how would you propose or suggest that people, after 18 years, 25 years, 40 years, how do you suggest they start to change their mindset around money? What are some of the first steps they take?
Yeah, the first thing is, what am I actually thinking? And the term's called metacognition. It's a fancy term for thinking, the capacity to think about what you think about. And most people are super unconscious about what's rolling around in their head. And so what was powerful for me was grabbing a journal, and I hired a coach for a number of years who was financially independent. He wasn't just a coach. He was financially independent. And he said, you no longer have a money problem, you have a money project. And by him saying that, it totally changed my mind. about how to view this. But the first thing I did was I just grabbed a journal, and it was just, I wrote the word money down, and I wrote down everything I made up about that topic. Because what we do as humans is we make up stories, right? We make up stories about everything. And so everything I wrote down, being brutally honest with myself, was hard to make, hard to keep. I had a mind virus called one day. One day I'll get there. One day I'll be successful. Well, sounds good, but I'm never going to get there if it's always one day away. And, rich people are all the stuff I share. And so I wrote about 15, 20 limiting beliefs around money. I'm like, it's no wonder why I can't keep my money, because I don't want to look wealthy, because I think wealthy people are crooks. That was ingrained in me when I was small. So that was part one. And then part two was, okay, what do I really need to think about this stuff? And so starting to do the work and replace, one belief at a time can be a little tedious. But the first step is, how do I think about it? Me plus a thought equals a result. So if I'm broke or I'm challenged, you might have people on here that are wildly successful too. And one of my favorite quotes is, you don't have to be sick to get better. So you might want to go to the next level. And that all requires a change in thinking. But it was, okay, this is what I believe. And then this is how someone that's successful financially, how they need to think. So I need to start adopting and affirm and thinking, and we could do a whole show on kind of the work that you have to do to start changing that. But step one is, where am I? And is it serving me? And if it's not, then how do I need to change my thinking internally?
Chris, what are some of the habits that wealthy people have that others may not, that might surprise people that are listening?
Well, I think, there's definitely, money habits, but I think they're intentional about their day. They're intentional about their objective of what they're wanting to do, versus most people, kind of live by default. They get up, they fly by the seat of their pants. There's no intentionality. There's no focus. There's no planning. Right? I'm a big planner. I always plan out my week. I get a game plan out there. But I think one of the big things for me was respect for money. And there's a phenomenal book you can get out there called Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, written by T. Harv Eker. It's a book you can read over and over and over again. But the defining point for me was, he had a quote, and it was, until you start managing the money that you have now well, you won't see any more. And so I was falling into the trap of, once my business goes up, then I'm going to get my act together. And you're an entrepreneur, and man, it's small things cared for. And so I was blowing 10, 15, 20 bucks a day on garbage. I was eating out all the time. I was going to the bars. I was doing all this stuff, and I had no respect for small dollars. And once I sat down and realized that I was blowing $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a month on crap that was bringing no value to my life, and I started putting that money aside, saving it, doing good things with it, then what happened is, you can be trusted with small things. So let's give you a little more now. And that was one of our keys of raising our income up and driving our business and growing, was it's the small things. As you know, man, it's not the big thing. It is the compounding of small things over a period of time. So I think people that aren't as successful with money, or just aren't as successful as they should be or want to be, they don't think the small things matter. While the wildly successful people know that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you take care of small things, big things will show up, because you can be trusted with bigger things.
No, huge takeaway. So what I kind of heard from that is definitely plan and execute around priorities, be intentional. about your day, about your time. Time is money. That's for sure. Have respect for money, and take care of the small things. The small things matter. I pick dimes up off the street and quarters up off the street. You know what I mean? And some people don't. But as we're coming into the new year, and like I said, as we round this out and I give you the last word, you got a lot of people that are thinking about New Year's resolutions. Often that has to do with their finances, and this is going to be the year that they get them in check. What advice would you have for some of them that may not know quite where to start?
Yeah. So what me and my wife do it's December 31st. I mean, we kind of work on our plan and, individually, and then we come together and I always look at things like a GPS. So I'm always like, here's point A, here's point B. And so point A is, for us financially, it's okay, where's our savings at? Okay. Where's our liquid savings? So we got our long-term savings, liquid savings. And then most importantly, where's our net worth? And wealthy people focus on net worth. What you focus on expands. What's your net worth? Most entrepreneurs have no idea what their net worth is. And it's just a lack of focus, and it's a lack of because they're busy, and it doesn't make them good or bad, right or wrong. It's just like my mentors who have been very fortunate, are wildly successful, wildly wealthy. They're like, hey, dude, your net worth is your report card in business. I mean, so you're driving your business, you're kicking ass, you're making a ton of money. What's your personal net worth? Because I meet with a lot of people that have phenomenal businesses, but their personal net worth is not where it needs to be. So we started setting net worth goals, 12 years ago when we had no net worth. So where's your point A? And then you might have a couple business goals, revenue goals, or whatever. And then where do you want to be by the end of the year? Point B. And why do you care? So coming up with what I call compelling emotional reasons. That's the step that people leave out. Why do you want to go to the next level? Why does it matter? Why do you care? For me early on, hated financial stress. Didn't want to have another financial stressful conversation with my wife ever again. I wanted to see my kids whenever I wanted to. They're 17 and 20 now. It's turned out amazing. I wanted to teach other people how to free themselves mentally and financially so they can live an amazing life. Compelling emotional reasons always tied back to people, not stuff. And so you've got to have those compelling reasons, much like you need fuel for a car, or you will not get outside your comfort zone. So you got to have that desire. So we'll spend time there. And then for us, then we're going to get focused on where do we need to be by March 31st. So great book out there called The 12-Week Year. Unbelievable resource. Great for entrepreneurs. You got 4 12-week years. Where do you want to be at the end of the quarter? So if you want to be there, because what happens is the end of the year is too far away. You got all the time in the world. You pace. You got to bring that up to March 31st. Get your focus there. And then all your how-tos are in the implementation of the plan for that week. What are your strategies, tactics, and processes for the week? Because the other thing is, if you set big goals, it seems too far away, people get overwhelmed. So this was always really a relief to me, is I just have to kick ass with this week. And then at the end of the week, I was like, okay, this is what I actually got done for my weekly goals. So if you had an annual income goal that was a double, what does it have to be at the end of the quarter? What is the weekly cash flow goal that you need to hit? What are your strategies, tactics, and processes for that week? Did you hit it? Did you not? And then it's a weekly think session for about 20 minutes. What's my course correction? Small course correction I need to make going into next week. I don't know if I'm making sense, but the problem is people try to make 25 changes. They have 30 different goals. What's the number one? Why? And then you got to be able to break that down to where do I need to be at the end of the quarter? And then what's the cash flow I have to generate in this week. That transformed my whole freaking world. And so I've given this talk a lot. I got a couple hundred agents. Like, do you really do that? And I bring them into my office and I show them my 44 quarterly goal sheets in my manila folder, going, hey, this is how you do it. And what happened is I didn't often really hit those quarterly goals, but man, I started leveling up. And then I would raise them and level up and level them up. But if you can take the end to the quarter, to the strategy, to the week, what actually happened, 52 small course corrections over a year, 52 small course corrections over a decade is freaking jaw-dropping what can happen in your business.
Incredible information. No, thank you so much, Chris. What I heard from that is plan, create a compelling why that relates to people, not so much money, so that it's emotionally charged. And then finally break those big goals down the same way you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So, Chris, thank you so much for being on. If people need to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that? How do they reach out?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Instagram. So I basically drop 5 days a week. I spend probably about an hour creating content to drop on Instagram. And it's all dialed into mindset, entrepreneurism, those things. And it's some of these things that have actually made a difference in my life that I just want to share with everybody. So CF, that's C as in Charlie, F as in Frank, CF_E, the number 2E. So CF_E on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter at CL Felton. And then, if anybody wants me to send them a complimentary How Money Works book, they can reach me at chris.felton@wealthwave.com, and we'll put one in the mail. We just ask that you actually read it. And I'm available to speak or do webinars, seminars, whatever. If people want to get a group of entrepreneurs or their employees together or whatever, I can teach on money. I can teach on mindset. I can do all sorts of things to hopefully add value to them and their group.
Incredible. Chris, thank you so much. So all those that are listening, that's where you find Chris. Appreciate you being on, and everyone, appreciate you carving out some time to be able to listen to this wherever you might be. Until the next time, create a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.